Some folks say the hardest thing in life isn't losing what you had, it's finding the courage to try again. This is a story about two people who'd both lost everything, who met in the ashes of what used to be, and learned that sometimes the best foundations are built on honest work and hard-won trust. It's set in Texas. 1883, when a handshake meant something and a person's word was their bond. I hope it reminds you, as it does me, that second chances are real, and that the strongest homes aren't made of lumber, they're made of two people willing to stand together when everything else has burned down. Clara's hands went numb on the trunk handle. Through the cottonwoods, she saw it 3 blackened walls standing like broken teeth against a hard blue sky, no roof. The 4th wall collapsed inward, charred timbers jutting at angles that made her stomach turn. A man sat on a burnt beam, back to the road, utterly still. She set down the trunk. Dust puffed around her boots. He didn't turn. The stagecoach driver's warning echoed. Fire took the Brennan place 3 weeks back. She'd read Silas's letter until the paper wore thin at the creases. Need a practical woman. No romance, just partnership. Well, here was the partnership. Kitchen garden trampled flat. Stone chimney standing alone like a headstone. The smell hit her wet char. Recent rain on ash. The man stood. Tall, maybe 6'2", kept his left side angled away. "You shouldn't be here," he said. His voice sounded like rust. "If you've ever had to start over from nothing, or know someone who did, I'd be grateful to hear where you're watching from today. Sometimes knowing we're not alone in the struggle makes all the difference." Clara stepped closer. His shadow fell across her trunk. When he turned, she saw the left side of his face. Scar tissue bunched thick from jaw to temple. Old burns, rope textured. One eye squinted from the pull. His hands, though, fresh blisters wept clear fluid down his wrists. "Clara Marsh," she said, "from Philadelphia." "I know who you are." He circled her trunk like it was something dangerous. "Letter was from before this." He gestured at the ash heap behind him. "Can't take a wife now." She counted the standing walls. 3. Stone chimney, intact. Letter didn't say nothing about fire. Well, he picked up a bent nail from the ground. "Threw it. Now you know." Clara knelt. Her skirt spread in the dust. She opened the trunk. Brass clasps clicked loud in the silence. "What are you doing?" She lifted out folded dresses, set them down. Seed packets wrapped in oilcloth, her mother's Dutch oven, cast iron. Heavy enough her arms shook. Lint bandages rolled tight. Brown bottle of carbolic acid. "I come 300 miles. Each item she set in the dirt, methodical. "Reckon I'll see what I come for." "There ain't nothing to see." She pulled out 2 tin plates, set them beside the oven. His boots shifted. "You listening?" Clara stood, brushed dust off her skirt. "Where are you sleeping?" Silence stretched. A crow called from the cottonwoods. "The barn," he finally said. "Barn didn't burn." "No." "Then that's something." She picked up the Dutch oven, heavier than she remembered. "This needs water. I need that well pump working steady." He moved fast, grabbed her wrist, not hard, desperate, his blistered palm hot against her skin. "How much money you got?" She went still, looked at his hand on her arm, at the raw flesh weeping. "Enough. That ain't an answer. How much you need to know?" He let go, turned away. wiped his face with his sleeve rough motion, like scrubbing something off. Clara's voice came out softer. Neighbors offered help. Can't be beholden. Can't or won't. He wheeled back. You think I want charity? Want folks saying Silas Brennan couldn't keep his own? His voice cracked. Stopped. She met his eyes. The scarred one, the good one, both red-rimmed. I think you're hurting, she said, quiet and alone. And maybe that's worse than asking for help. His jaw worked. Scar tissue pulled white at the edges. Why would you stay for this? Barely a whisper. Clara grabbed the trunk handle, started dragging it toward the barn. Leather scraped dirt. Brass corners caught on rocks. Over her shoulder. Maybe I seen worse than a burnt cabin. Behind her. His boots didn't move. She kept dragging. 70 pounds at least, her palms already burning. At the barn door, she looked back. He stood in the ash, staring at his empty, blistered hands. The barn smelled like leather and linseed oil and old hay. Dust hung in the air, thick enough to see in the light slanting through wall cracks. Silas pointed to a door. Tack room, 8 by 10. Got a door. Clara looked inside. Saddles hung on wall pegs, 3 of them. Leather dark with age and oil. Floor was packed dirt, swept clean. A horsehair bridle coiled on a nail. It'll do. He brought oilcloth from somewhere stiff canvas. Smelled like rain. She hung it across the doorway. Her fingers fumbled the rope ties. Behind the cloth. She made a bed, hay bales shoved together. Her quilt spread over them. The wedding ring pattern showed bright, even in dim light. She set the coal oil lamp on an upturned crate. Her mother's Bible beside it. Leather cover cracked at the spine. From outside the cloth, my scars. Clara's hands stopped on the lamp chimney. You'll want to know? His voice came rough through the canvas. Barn fire. I was 7. Tried to get my sister out. And she touched the oilcloth, rough weave under her palm. Got her out. She died anyway. Fever. That winter. I'm sorry. The words came out whisper thin. Was a long time ago. But his voice said something different, said it was yesterday, said it was still happening. Clara stepped out. He stood by the barn door, staring at nothing. The scar tissue caught the late sun shiny, pulled tight. Ruth, he said. Her name was Ruth. A horned owl called from the cottonwoods, long and low. Clara built a fire outside, gathered kindling from the brush pile, struck a lucifer match. The sulfur smell made her eyes water. She fed small sticks until flames caught proper, then added larger wood. Pulled out her provisions, cornmeal in a cloth sack. Salt pork, wrapped in butcher paper. The Dutch oven sat heavy in her hands. She filled it from the well pump handle, shrieked with each stroke. Then water gushed cold and clear, added cornmeal, salt, lard from a tin, stirred with a wooden spoon while the fire popped and hissed. Silas appeared with the salt pork, cut it thin with his pocket knife, hands steady despite the blisters, laid the strips in a skillet. Fat sizzled and spat. They sat on hay bales, ate from tin plates balanced on their knees. The mush was thick, bland, the pork crisp and salty. Clara's jaw ached from chewing. Where are you from? He asked. Philadelphia. Doing what of seamstress? She scraped her plate. You, Wyoming, 4th son. He set his plate down, still half full. Come to Texas for cheap land. Your father's place was... The word came out flat. He stared at the fire. He built that cabin in '74. Died in it this spring. Clara waited. The fire cracked. Sparks rose into darkening sky. I was supposed to... He stopped. Started again. Supposed to keep it going. A coyote yipped somewhere distant. Another answered. Tomorrow, Clara said. We start clearing. He looked at her like she'd spoke a language he didn't know. The fire burned down to coals. Clara banked it with dirt, poured water from the bucket. Steam rose, smelling like wet ash, like the cabin ruins. She walked to the tack room, behind the oilcloth. She changed into her nightdress. Flannel, practical, no lace. She lay on the hay bales. The quilt smelled like home, like her mother's lavender sachets, like Philadelphia and everything she'd left behind. Outside. Boots scuffed dirt, pacing. Clara pushed the oilcloth aside. Silas stood facing the burnt cabin. Moonlight made the char look silver, almost clean. He didn't move when she walked up beside him. My father died in that bed. He pointed. Northeast corner. I was holding his hand. His voice came out hollow. He said, Don't let it go to ruin, boy. 2 hours later, he was gone. Clara's throat squeezed tight. And now look. His shoulders shook once. Couldn't even keep it standing. Ape woofed in the shadows. Small, low to the ground. The barn cat appeared. Ribs showed through patchy fur. It stopped 5 feet away. Yellow eyes reflecting moonlight. Clara walked back to the tack room, opened her trunk, found the cheese wrapped in muslin hard cheese. Expensive. From Philadelphia. She'd brought it 300 miles. Broke off a piece. The cat's nose twitched. It crept forward. Took the cheese from her palm. Teeth sharp against her skin. Ate fast. Desperate. She broke off another piece. Silas's boots appeared beside her. That's real cheese. Cat's hungry. You brought provisions. She didn't answer. The cat finished eating. Licked its whiskers. He was quiet. The owl called again. Closer now. Wind moved through the cottonwood's dry leaves, rattled like bones. You been helping, he said finally. Since you got here? Haven't asked for nothing? Don't need nothing. Why? Clara looked at the burnt cabin, at the 3 walls standing, at the moonlight on broken glass and twisted metal. Maybe I know what it's like, to lose something you can't get back. The cat rubbed against her leg, then against his. Thin tail straight up, purring loud enough to hear. Silas crouched, scratched behind its ears with one finger gentle, careful of his blisters. The cat pushed into his hand. Clara watched his face. The scar pulled when he smiled, just a little. Barely there. His hands trembled. Not from the night chill. He stood, wiped his palms on his pants, looked at her straight on good eye and scarred eye both. How much money you really got? Clara. The question hung in the air between them. The cat purred. The owl called. Somewhere far off. A coyote howled long and lonesome. Clara's hand moved to her dress pocket, empty now. But in the trunk, hidden under the quilt, under her winter clothes, under the sewing kit bank statements, letters, numbers that would make him send her away for sure. She met his eyes. Enough. Enough for what? The wind picked up. It smelled like sage and dust and the promise of rain that wouldn't come. Clara woke to the rhythm of metal on wood. Axe strikes, steady and hard. She pushed the oilcloth aside. Gray light seeped through barn cracks. Dawn. Barely. The strikes didn't stop. She dressed fast, same calico from yesterday, now wrinkled. Split skirt dusty at the hem, pulled her hair back, tied it with a ribbon that had seen better days. Outside. Silas swung the axe. Charred beams splintered under the blade. His shirt stuck to his back. Dark with sweat despite the morning cool. The bandages she'd wrapped last night hung loose on his hands, unraveling with each swing. Clara walked to the well, worked the pump until water gushed, filled 2 tin cups, no sugar, no cream, just coffee boiled over last night's coals, reheated, bitter and strong. She walked to where he worked, held out a cup. He took it, drank without stopping, handed it back. His palm left blood smears on the tin. Your hands. He looked down. Fresh blood seeped through the muslin, mixing with old yellow fluid from the blisters. He shrugged, reached for the axe again. Clara stepped between him and the beam. No. I got work. We got work. She set the cups down. And you can't do it bleeding. His jaw worked, scar tissue pulled white. She walked to the tack room, came back with the carbolic bottle, clean muslin torn from a petticoat hem. Sit. I don't need sit. He sat on a burnt timber, held out his hands. She unwrapped the old bandages. The blisters had opened, raw flesh exposed. Dirt ground in deep. She poured water over them. He hissed through his teeth, but didn't pull away. The carbolic acid went on next. He went rigid. Breath came sharp through his nose. I know, she said quiet. Wrapped fresh muslin tight. No more lifting today. I got to clear. I can lift too. He stared at the white cloth on his palms, already spotting red. You're a seamstress? I got arms, don't I? She picked up a charred beam, smaller than the ones he'd been moving, but heavy enough her shoulders burned, dragged it to the pile they'd started, went back for another. Silas watched, then stood, grabbed a beam with his bandaged hands. They worked until the sun cleared the cottonwoods. Clara's hands blistered. She said nothing. Silas's bandages soaked through. He didn't stop. By mid-morning, they'd cleared enough to see the stone chimney foundation, intact, solid. The mortar held. Clara knelt, touched the stones, still warm from yesterday's sun. Foundation's good, Silas said behind her. She looked up. He stood against the light, hat brim shadowing his face. The scar caught the sunshiny. Rope thick. Then we got something to build on. Wagon wheels creaked on the road. They both turned. 2 wagons rolled up the drive. 4 people, 2 men, 2 women. The Hadleys and another couple Clara didn't know. Silas's shoulders went tight. Mr. Hadley climbed down. Big man, red-faced from sun and work. Heard you got yourself a wife. Brennan. Word travels. Can't let a woman live in a barn. Hadley gestured to the wagon bed. Lumber, green pine, fresh cut, maybe 200 board feet. Brought this over. Silas didn't move. His voice came out flat. Can't pay for it. Didn't ask you to. Mrs. Hadley spoke from the wagon seat. Gray hair pulled tight under a bonnet. It's Christian charity. Silas's neck flushed red, jaw clamped shut. Clara stepped forward, wiped her hands on her skirt dusty, sweaty. That's real kind of you folks. We're grateful. The other woman climbed down, younger, round-faced. I'm Sarah Cooper. This here's my husband, Tom. Tom Cooper tipped his hat. Lean man, weathered. We homestead 2 miles east. Clara Brennan. The name felt strange in her mouth. She hadn't used it yet. We'll trade labor come harvest. Silas is good with a hammer. Hadley's eyebrows went up. That's so. That's so. Clara's voice stayed steady. Met his eyes direct. Hadley looked at Silas. Silas stared at the ground. The flush crept up past his collar. Well then, Hadley slapped the wagon rail. Let's get this unloaded. The men worked. Silas moved like his joints had rusted stiff. Mechanical, each board the neighbors stacked, his shoulders hunched lower. Clara saw his hands fist and unfist. Blood seeped through the bandages. Mrs. Hadley appeared beside Clara, handed her a cloth-wrapped bundle. Cornbread, still warm. Thank you. You need anything else? You come to town, Cooper's Mercantile. I run it. Clara met her eyes. Sharp eyes. Knowing. I'll remember that. The wagons pulled away. Dust rose behind them. Clara and Silas stood in the yard, surrounded by lumber. Good lumber. Expensive lumber. Silas walked to the barn without a word. Clara looked at the lumber, touched a board smooth, fragrant, pine sap sticky under her fingers. She counted. More than 200 feet. Closer to 3. The days that followed ran together. They worked dawn to dusk. Silas showed Clara how to use the draw knife, cherry handle, worn smooth from years of use. He stood behind her, put his hands over hers on the tool. Like this. His chest pressed against her back, his breath warm on her neck. The scar side of his face near her ear, she pulled. The blade caught. Jumped. Gouged the wood deep. Slower, he said, voice rough. Let the tool do the work. She tried again. The blade skipped, cut crooked. Here. His hands tightened over hers, drew the blade. Wood curled away, pale and fragrant. Feel that. She nodded, felt the tremor in his jaw against her temple. Small, barely there. He stepped back, fast, like he'd been burnt. You try. Clara gripped the draw knife. Her hands fit the worn places his hands had made. Pulled. The blade caught again. Don't force it. She tried softer. The blade moved an inch. Jerked. Stopped. Silas picked up his father's carpentry square from where she'd found it in the rubble. Brass corners dull with age. He held it like something sacred. Takes practice. Don't expect perfection first try. Clara tried again. This time the blade moved smooth. A thin curl of pine fell at her feet. Good, he said. By the end of the first week, they had the foundation cleared and staked. By mid-July, the first wall frames rose. Silas worked steadier. His hands healed to thick calluses. Clara's blistered, then hardened. One evening, Clara knelt in the dirt by the foundation, drew with a stick 3 rooms instead of 2, bigger windows. Silas looked over her shoulder. That's ambitious. I don't do things halfway. He almost smiled. She walked to town the following week. The heat pressed down like a hand. 3 miles, her boots raised dust with each step. Sweat ran between her shoulder blades. Cooper's Mercantile sat on Main Street. Whitewashed boards, green trim. The bell jangled when she pushed the door. Mrs. Hadley looked up from the counter. "Mrs. Brennan? Just Clara." She set her basket down. 2 eggs inside, wrapped in muslin. "Thought you might could use these." Hadley picked one up, cracked it in a bowl. Perfect yolk. "Fresh? Good. What you needing today?" Clara pulled coins from her pocket. Silver. "Salt and nails, if you got extras." Hadley's eyes narrowed. She wrapped salt in brown paper, counted nails from a barrel, added a twist of real coffee. Clara could smell it. 30 cents. Clara laid down $1. Hadley picked it up, turned it over, made change. Slow. "Your husband know you got money. My husband's got pride. Most men do." Hadley pushed the packages across. "Makes 'em fools sometimes." Walking home took longer. The nails weighed heavy. Her feet blistered in her boots. By the time she saw the homestead, the sun hung low and orange. Silas waited by the fence, saw her limping. "You walked all that way?" She showed him the nails. Good ones. Hand-forged. His face changed. "How much?" Hadley gave credit, said I could work it off. He didn't believe her. She saw it. The way his eyes went to her face. Then away, but he took the nails, turned them over in his bandaged palms. "Thank you," he said, that evening. They framed the first wall together. Silas showed her how to hold the boards while he hammered. The sun dropped toward the horizon. Gold light washed everything. When the last nail went in, Silas stepped back, looked at the wall standing. His mouth curved, just a little, the first real smile she'd seen. Clara's chest went tight. She turned away, walked to the well before he could see her face. That night, by lamplight, she pulled paper from her trunk. Pen and ink, wrote careful Mrs. Hadley. "Please hold any mail that arrives for me at the store. We'll collect when I come to town. Clara Brennan." She folded it. Tomorrow she'd walk back. Post it. The lies were stacking up, each one heavier than the last. But Silas was smiling again, building again. And that had to be worth something, didn't it? Clara walked to town again the following week. July heat pressed down. Dust coated her hem by the first mile. At Cooper's Mercantile. The bell jangled. Mrs. Hadley looked up from sorting mail. "Back so soon?" Clara set her basket on the counter. 3 more eggs? Brought these. And I need... She paused. Pulled out a gold coin from her pocket. Double eagle. $20. Laid it on the counter between them. The coin caught the light, gleamed. Hadley went still. Her eyes moved from the coin to Clara's face, back to the coin. She picked it up slow, turned it over, bit the edge. Her teeth marks showed faint in soft gold. "Where'd you get this old employer back in Philadelphia?" Clara's voice stayed level. "Owed me for piecework I done. Letter just caught up with me." "Mm-hmm." Hadley set the coin down. Her fingers stayed on it. "What you needing? Window glass, 4 panes, and fabric for curtains if you got any." Hadley's eyebrows rose. "Glass ain't cheap. I know. 4 windows run about $12. Fabric another 3. That's fine." Hadley opened a ledger. Wrote slow. Her pen scratched across paper. Looked up. "Your husband gonna ask questions when glass shows up. I'll handle it. I bet you will." Hadley's mouth curved. Not quite a smile. Something sharper. "Tell you what. I'll order the glass from Fort Worth. Takes 2 weeks. Meantime, everything you buy goes on credit. You settle with me private. Cash. Nobody knows. Clara's throat went tight. You'd do that. Known Silas Brennan since he was a boy. Stubborn as they come, but good. She made more notes. Besides, I like watching a clever woman work. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Hadley counted out change. Pushed it across. Buy yourself something nice with this. You earned it. Clara took the coins. Still warm from Hadley's palm. Walking home. The weight in her pocket felt heavier than $20 should. The cabin changed over the following weeks. Late July sun beat down while they worked. The 4 walls rose. Roof beams went across like ribs on a skeleton. Silas stood on a ladder one morning, hammering, his shirt off in the heat. Scars crossed his back, old ones, white with age. The burn scars from his neck continued down past his shoulder blade. He whistled while he worked. Off-key. But the sound made something in Clara's chest pull tight. She knelt in the dirt she'd turned for garden, pushed bean seeds into rows, corn kernels, squash seeds from her trunk saved from Philadelphia. The soil felt different here, grittier, drier. But she watered from the well, and the seeds went in. The hammer strikes stopped. Boots scraped ladder rungs. You planting all that yourself? Silas's voice behind her. Garden won't plant itself. He crouched beside her, picked up a handful of dirt, let it sift through his fingers. What you got there? Beans, corn, squash. That'll take some doing. I got time. She pushed another seed in, covered it, patted the soil firm. He watched her hands, blistered palms, broken nails, dirt ground into the creases. You never done this before. My mother kept a garden. I remember some. She'd teach you. Before she died, consumption, 10 years back. And your father, last year, heart gave out. She sat back on her heels, brushed dirt on her skirt. That's when I answered your letter. Didn't have nothing keeping me there no more. He stood, offered his hand. She took it. He pulled her up, his palm rough, calloused. The blisters healed now to thick skin. Their hands stayed together a beat too long. Then she pulled away. Over the next week, neighbors came by. Tom Cooper brought his boy, 8 years old, gap-toothed. The boy ran circles around the building site. Looking real good. Brennan, Tom said. Silas wiped sweat from his forehead, left a dirt streak. Getting there. Sarah Cooper brought more cornbread, set it wrapped in cloth on a stump. For your supper. Something. When they left, Silas stood taller, looked at the framed walls like he could see the finished house. Clara watched him and felt the lies stack up inside her like kindling. The glass arrived first week of August. Hadley's boy delivered it on a wagon. 4 windows, 4 pane each, wrapped in burlap and straw. Silas stood in the yard when the wagon pulled up, looked at the wrapped bundles, at Clara, back to the bundles. The boy handed him a bill, marked paid in full. Silas's jaw went tight. He helped unload, said nothing. After the wagon left, he turned to Clara. How much you got saved? Some. How much is some? She met his eyes. Enough for windows. He looked at the glass. At her. Something shifted in his face. But he picked up a bundle, carried it to the cabin. They installed the windows that afternoon. Silas showed her how to set the panes in their frames, seal them with putty. His hands moved careful, gentle. When the last pane went in, light flooded the interior, made the raw wood glow. Clara stood inside, turned slow, saw the space with walls and roof and windows, saw what it could be. "It's coming together," she said quiet. Silas stood in the doorway, watching her. "Yeah, it is." That evening they sat on the porch frame, boards laid across joists, no rail yet, their feet dangled over the edge. Silas poured coffee from the tin pot, handed her a cup. Steam rose between them. "I can't read so good," he said sudden. Clara lowered her cup. "What? I can read, but not good. Pa taught me some, but he died before." He stopped. "There's gaps. That why you don't read your father's journal?" His head came up. "How'd you know about that?" "Saw it, in the barn, when I was looking for rope." He was quiet. Then, "I can read some of it, but Pa's handwriting." He trailed off. Clara set her cup down, went to the tack room, came back with her Harper's Weekly, 3 months old, pages worn soft. "Read this to me," she said. Handed it to him. He took it, opened to a page, squinted at the words. "The telephone." He stumbled, stopped. "Telephone," she said. "Telephone exhibition in Boston." She listened, let him work through it, helped when he got stuck. His face flushed, but he kept reading, after. He closed the magazine. "Careful." "Thank you. You read fine, just need practice." "I feel stupid." "You ain't stupid. You're learning." She took the magazine back. "My father couldn't read at all till he was 20. Taught himself with newspapers." "Really? Really?" They sat quiet. Crickets started up. The first stars appeared. "Why'd you really answer my letter?" he asked. Clara thought of James Henderson, of finding out about the banker's daughter, of realizing no one in Philadelphia saw her. Just her money. "Why'd you really write it?" she said instead. He smiled. Small. Touché. The next day, Clara worked on the roof. Silas handed up shingles, showed her how to nail them. Overlap. Seal. She knelt on the slope. Hammered. The sun beat down on her back. Sweat ran into her eyes. Her foot slipped. She started to slide, dropped the hammer, grabbed for the ridge beam, missed. Silas's arm caught her waist. Solid. Strong. He pulled her toward him, lowered her down the slope to where the ladder leaned. They ended up face to face. His hands on her ribs, her hands on his shoulders, both breathing hard. "You all right?" His voice rough. She nodded. Couldn't speak. His hands stayed on her ribs, warm through her dress. She felt his thumbs, gentle, careful. He set her down like she was made of glass. Stepped back fast. "Can't have you breaking before the house is done," he said. The words came out light, trying for humor, but his hands shook. Clara laughed, couldn't help it. Relief and fear and something else all mixed together. The sound came out bright, real. Silas stared at her, like he'd never heard that sound before, like it was the best thing he'd ever heard. She stopped laughing. Their eyes met. The moment stretched. the roof, the sun, the space between them. Then Silas climbed down the ladder. "I'll finish up here. You take a rest." Clara sat in the shade, watched him work, noticed things she'd been trying not to notice. The way he touched his scars less around her, how he held eye contact longer, how his shoulders relaxed when she walked up, how she felt when his hands had been on her ribs. That night, fabric appeared on the porch, muslin, white, enough for curtains. "What's this?" Silas asked. "Mrs. Hadley sent it. Said it was extra. Thought I could use it. She just giving away fabric now." Clara shrugged. "She seems to like me." He picked up the bolt, felt the fabric between his fingers. Set it down. Didn't say what he was thinking. But Clara saw it in his eyes. The doubt, the questions, the knowing that something wasn't quite right. Late July. The walls stood complete, roof shingled tight. Silas worked inside now, building shelves, fitting doors to frames. Clara hung her mother's quilt from a rope strung across one corner, the wedding ring pattern bright against raw pine walls. She set the Dutch oven on the hearth. Tomorrow they'd light the first fire. Behind her, sawing sounds stopped. She turned. Silas knelt beside a pine table, rough-built but sturdy. His hands moved over the surface with sandpaper, back and forth. The wood lightened where he worked. "What are you making? Table." He didn't look up, kept sanding, for eating. She walked closer. The table stood on 4 legs, thick planks across the top, simple, solid. "It's real nice," he grunted. Kept working. Clara went back outside, pulled weeds from the garden rows, bean plants knee-high now, corn waist-high, squash vines spreading. When she came back in, Silas was underneath the table, on his back, carving something. "What are you doing?" "Nothing." His voice echoed off the underside. "Ain't finished yet." That evening, he flipped the table upright, stood back. Clara ran her palm across the top. Smooth as glass. She looked underneath. Letters carved deep, C.B., her initials, his last name. Clara Brennan. Her vision blurred. She turned away fast. "It's," her voice cracked, "it's the nicest thing anyone ever made me." "You don't like it. I love it." She wiped her eyes on her sleeve. "Just got dust in my eyes is all." She walked outside. The well pump shrieked when she worked it. Cold water gushed. She splashed her face. Water ran down her neck, soaked her collar, boots on dirt behind her. "Clara." She kept her back to him. "I'm fine." "You're crying. I got dust." His hand touched her shoulder. Light, careful. "I shouldn't have carved it. I overstepped." "No." She turned. Water dripped from her chin. "No, you didn't. It's just—" She couldn't finish. He waited. "Nobody ever claimed me like that before," she said quiet. His thumb wiped water from her cheek. Rough skin, gentle touch. "I'm claiming you now, if you'll have me." Her throat closed. She nodded. He pulled her close. Awkward, his chin on top of her head, her face against his chest. His heart beat steady under her ear. They stood like that until the sun dropped behind the cottonwoods. First Saturday in August, The barn dance. Clara washed her hair in the horse trough that morning, dried it in the sun, brushed it until it shone. Her good dress, deep blue calico, saved from Philadelphia. The fabric still held color. Leg of mutton sleeves, jet buttons at her throat. Silas scrubbed at the well. She heard splashing, muttering. When he came around the barn, she almost didn't know him. Clean white shirt, no collar but pressed flat, hair wet, combed back. The scars on his face looked darker against scrubbed clean skin. He stopped, stared. "What?" She touched her hair. "Is it? You look real pretty." Heat climbed her neck. "You clean up good yourself." They walked to town. 3 miles. The sun dropped low, painted everything gold. His hand found hers on the road. Rough palm. Calluses. She didn't pull away. The barn sat on the edge of town. Red paint flaking. Doors thrown wide. Lanterns hung from rafters, coal oil flames flickering. Fiddle music spilled out into evening. A caller's voice singing figures. People filled the yard. Women in their best dresses, men in clean shirts, children running between wagons. Mrs. Hadley saw them first. Elbowed her husband, nodded. Other heads turned. Whispers spread. Clara's hand tightened on Silas's arm. He covered it with his. "It's all right. They're just curious." Inside, the fiddle wailed. Couples swung through a reel. Boots thundered on plank floor. Dust rose. The caller shouted, "Allemande left with your left hand. Right to your partner, and a right and left grand." Clara and Silas stood by the wall. Watched. Sarah Cooper came over. Flushed from dancing. "Mrs. Brennan, you came. Seemed like we should—" "Come on. You got to dance?" She grabbed Clara's hand, pulled her toward the floor. "Tom, take Mrs. Brennan for a turn." Tom Cooper already had her other hand, led her to the floor. The music swung into a waltz. Slower. Tom's hand on her waist. Proper distance. He turned her through the steps. She followed. Rusty, but it came back. Over his shoulder, she saw Silas, standing alone by the wall, watching, his face unreadable. The music ended. Tom led her back. "Thank you kindly, ma'am." A man appeared beside Silas. Tall, well-dressed, string tie, good boots. "Brennan," the man said. "Heard you're building again." "Mr. Cordell." Silas straightened. "Yes, sir. Getting there." "Good." Cordell's eyes sharp, assessing. "I need a new barn built, 60 by 40. Can you do it?" Silas's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Clara stepped in. "He can do it." Cordell looked at her. Eyebrows up. "Your wife handles business." "My wife knows numbers." Silas's voice found itself. "What you paying? What you asking?" Silas looked at Clara. She could see him calculating. Too low meant desperate. Too high meant losing the job. $1 a day, Clara said. "You provide materials. 3 weeks' work." Cordell blinked. "That's steep. That's fair. You want good work. You pay for it." A smile tugged Cordell's mouth. "Your wife's got spine. Brennan." "Yes, sir." Something in Silas's voice. Pride. "She does? $1 a day, then. Start Monday." Cordell extended his hand. They shook. The deal made, walking home. The moon rose full. White light washed the road, made the dust look like snow. Silas grabbed Clara's hand, swung it between them. You didn't have to do that. Do what? Speak for me. I could have what? Sold yourself short, asked for 75 cents. He was quiet. Partners, Clara said. Remember, you build, I talk, together. Together. He tested the word. Liked it. They stopped at the property line. The cabin sat dark against stars. Clara could see the window glass catching moonlight. The door hung true in its frame. Home. It's finished, Silas said. Tomorrow we move in proper. She looked at the walls they'd framed, the roof they'd shingled, his hands and hers, his strength and her money, all tangled together. Silas. He turned to her. Close. Very close. His hand came up, touched her cheek. Rough palm, gentle. Clara. Her name in his mouth. I need to tell you, don't. She knew what was coming. Couldn't bear it yet. Why not? Because when you say it, I'll have to tell you the truth. All of it. His hand dropped. What truth? The money? Where it came from? How much there is? I told you, I know you got money. You don't know how much? Her voice shook. You don't know what I did, who I was. Then tell me. I can't, not yet. Why not? Because I love you. The words tore out. And when you know the truth, you won't love me back. He stared at her. Moonlight turned his scars silver. The good side of his face. The burnt side. Both beautiful to her. You think I care about money? Everyone cares about money. Is that why you came here? You think I wanted a rich wife. I think you wanted a partner, someone practical. She wiped her eyes. And I lied about how much I got, about why I came. Then why did you come? She thought of James Henderson, of the banker's daughter, of Philadelphia and everything she'd run from. Because you didn't know I had it, she said. Your letter didn't ask about money. Just asked if I could work, if I was practical. His arms pulled her close. You could have told me, when you couldn't afford to send me back, when you were sitting in ashes hating yourself. I wouldn't have sent you away. Yes, you would. Her voice went hard. You would have thought you were charity. Would have thought I was fixing you. Maybe I needed fixing. Nobody needs fixing. They just need someone to stand beside them while they fix themselves. He pulled back. Looked at her. Really looked. How much money you got, Clara? She met his eyes. More than you can imagine. Try me, the owl called. The cat appeared at their feet, rubbed against their legs, purring. Not tonight, Clara said. Please, not tonight. Silas's jaw worked. Then he took her hand. Tomorrow you tell me everything. They walked to the cabin. He opened the door, swung smooth on new hinges. Clara stepped inside. He lit the lamps, all 3 coal oil lamps, 2 candles. Light flooded the space. She turned slow. The table he'd built, the shelves, the hearth. Tomorrow she'd hang curtains, set out dishes, make it home. It's beautiful, she whispered. Silas pulled her close, kissed her temple, her cheek, her mouth. It's ours, he said. But in the barn, in her trunk under the quilt, 16 bank statements sat bundled in ribbon. Letters from the bank manager, investment reports. Not $15,000 like she'd almost said, $23,000. And she still hadn't told him the rest. The part that would change everything. The medical clinic she wanted to build. Half her inheritance. Gone. Given away to strangers. Would he understand? Or would he think she was throwing away their future? She looked at him in the lamplight. At the scars. At the hands that built this place. At the man who loved her despite everything. Tomorrow, she'd tell him. Tomorrow. Morning came too bright. Clara woke in the new bed hay-tick mattress, her mother's quilt, Silas's side empty. She found him in the barn, her trunk open, lock broken. Brass hasp bent at an angle. He stood with papers in his hands, bank statements, the ones she'd hidden under the winter clothes, under the sewing kit, under everything. His hands shook. The papers rattled. 23,000. His voice came out flat. Dead. You said you had enough. You didn't say you had more money than most folks see in 3 lifetimes. Clara's stomach dropped. She stepped into the barn. Dust motes hung in the light from the door. Silas, $23,000. He looked up. His face had gone white. The scars stood out livid against pale skin. You've been lying this whole time. Even when you finally told me you had money. You lied about how much. I was going to, when. He threw the papers down. They scattered across the dirt floor. When were you gonna tell me the truth? I didn't know how. Didn't know how. His laugh came out harsh. Ugly. Or didn't want me to know I'd been living off my wife like some kind of... He stopped. Swallowed hard. Like some kept man. That's not what this is. Then what is it? He grabbed more papers from the trunk. Investment reports. Property deeds. What's this? You own buildings in Philadelphia. 3 of them. Her mouth went dry. My father's businesses. You inherited half of Pennsylvania and came here pretending to be some poor seamstress. He crumpled the papers. Made me think I was building something. Made me think I was providing. When all along it was your money. Every nail, every board, every single piece of that cabin. He gestured toward the door. Was bought with your money. I wanted you to feel like you earned it. Well, I didn't. His voice cracked. I didn't earn nothing. I'm just some charity case you decided to fix. Silas, please, please what? He turned on her, eyes red. Please understand. Please forgive you for making me feel like a man when I ain't nothing but a beggar. You're not a beggar. I got nothing. His shout echoed in the barn, made the cat streak out the door. My father's place burned. I got no money, no prospects, nothing. And you. He laughed again. That awful sound. You got more money than I could make in 10 lifetimes, and you let me think I was building us a home. Clara's eyes burned. We did build it. Together. With your money. Money's just... Don't. He held up a hand. Don't tell me money don't matter. Money's what makes a man able to take care of his wife, to provide, to be worth something. You're worth everything to me. Am I? He grabbed his hat from a peg, jammed it on his head. Or am I just some broken thing you felt sorry for? That's not fair. Fair. His voice dropped. Quiet. Worse than the shouting. You think it's fair I wake up every morning thinking I'm building something with my own 2 hands, thinking I'm making a home for my wife, and all along it's a lie. He walked past her, out into the sunlight. Clara followed. Where are you going? Cordell's place. Job starts Monday, but I'll see if he needs help sooner. He kept walking. Didn't look back. Gonna work, gonna earn money, real money, my money. The job don't start till... It starts now if I ask. He stopped. Turned. The sun behind him made his face shadow. I'm gonna work the job and every other job I can find. Gonna pay you back. Every cent. I don't want you to pay me back. I don't care what you want. His voice went cold, hard as iron. I'm paying it back. All of it. $23,000. However long it takes. That's not what What did you want, Clara? He stepped closer. Close enough she could see the veins in his neck, the pulse hammering. You want a husband who lives off his wife's money? You want some broken man you can feel good about helping? His hands fisted. Or did you just want someone who'd be grateful? Someone who'd owe you so much he'd never leave? The words hit like fists. Clara stepped back. Her heel caught a rock. She stumbled, caught herself on the well post. That's not why I came here, she whispered. Then why'd you come 300 miles to marry a man you never met, a man with nothing? His voice rose again. Unless you knew. Unless you wanted someone so desperate he'd take anything you gave him. I came because your letter was honest. Her voice shook. Because you didn't ask about money or family or prospects. You just asked if I could work. Work! He spat the word. You call this work, you buying everything while I play at building. He walked to the fence line, gripped the rail. His shoulders heaved once, twice. When he turned back, his eyes were dry, but his face looked carved from stone. I'm going to Cordell's. He mentioned needing help getting ready for the barn build. I'll be there till the job's done, maybe longer. You can't just leave. Watch me. He walked past the barn, past the cabin with its new windows and door, past the garden she'd planted, took the path toward town. Clara stood in the yard, alone. The sun beat down. Sweat ran between her shoulder blades. Her dress stuck to her back. She walked to the cabin. The papers still scattered on the barn floor. She'd clean them up later. Right now she couldn't bear to touch them. Inside, the cabin felt too big, too empty. The table he'd carved, the shelves, all of it hollow. She sat on the floor, back against the wall he'd framed. Her wall, his wall, their wall. The cat came through the open door, rubbed against her leg. She picked it up, held it. It purred against her chest. Outside, chickens scratched in the dirt. Rosie the cow lowed to be milked. Morning chores still needed doing. Clara set the cat down, stood, walked to the barn, got the milk pail. Rosie's udder was tight, full. Clara sat on the stool, pressed her forehead against Rosie's warm flank, pulled. Milk hissed into the pail. Rhythm. Familiar. Tears ran down her face, dropped into the milk. She didn't stop them. When the bucket was full, she carried it to the cabin, set it on the table, went back for the eggs. 3 eggs in the nest box, still warm. She cradled them in her apron, brought them inside, set them on the table beside the milk, sat down, stared at nothing. The sun moved across the floor. Shadow crept up the wall. The cat slept in a square of light. Clara didn't move. Outside. A wagon rattled past on the road. Voices called greetings. She didn't answer. The day passed. Then another. Then a third. Mrs. Hadley came by the second day, knocked on the doorframe. Mrs. Brennan, you in there? Clara stood, smoothed her skirt. Same one she'd worn for 2 days. Opened the door. Hadley took one look at her face. Where's Silas? Working at Cordell's ranch. For 3 days straight. Clara said nothing. Hadley pushed past her, looked around, saw the unmade bed, the dishes in the basin, the milk bucket, old now, cream gone sour on top. What happened? Clara's throat closed. Honey, what happened? He found the money. All of it. Clara sank into the chair. The bank statements, the investments, everything. And he thinks I married him to fix him, to have some broken man to feel good about. Her voice cracked. He's going to pay me back, every cent, however long it takes. Hadley sat across from her. The chair creaked. Men and their fool pride. It's not pride, it's shame. Clara looked at her hands, calloused, work roughened. I took that from him, made him feel like he wasn't man enough. Did you tell him why you came? I tried. He wouldn't listen. Hadley was quiet. Then, you got to let him cool down. What if he don't come back? He'll come back. This is his home. It's my money's home. He said it himself. You believe that? Clara thought of Silas on the ladder, hammering, his hands on hers with the draw knife, the table he'd carved her name into. No, she whispered. Then don't let him believe it. Hadley stood. When he comes back, you tell him, make him understand. After Hadley left, Clara poured the sour milk out, washed the bucket, collected fresh eggs, made herself eat one, fried in lard, then another. Her stomach cramped, but she kept them down. She forced herself to work, fed the animals, weeded the garden, swept the cabin floor, but the silence pressed down like a hand. Saturday evening, hoofbeats on the road. Clara stood from the table, walked to the door. Silas rode up. Not their mule, they didn't have one. A mule from Cordell's ranch, the rancher having loaned it for the work commute. He slid down stiff, walked to the cabin, pulled an envelope from his pocket, threw it on the table. $18, 6 days' wages. It's a start. Clara looked at the money, back at him. I don't want it. Too bad. His face was filthy. Clothes sweat-stained. He smelled like work and horses and anger. Silas, I got nothing else to say. He turned to leave. Clara stepped between him and the door. Well, I do. Get out of my way. No, she planted her feet. You think you're the only one who's ashamed. You think you're the only one who feels like nothing. Clara, I grew up watching men court my money. Not me, my money. Her voice rose. James Henderson asked me to marry him, gave me a ring. Then I found out he was courting the banker's daughter the whole time. Wanted my inheritance to pay his gambling debts. Silas stopped. I thought coming here, I thought I'd found someone who wanted me. Not my money. Me. Tears ran down her face. She didn't wipe them. I lied because I was terrified you'd be like all the rest. His face crumpled. I can't be the man who lived off his wife. Then be the man who built a home with his wife. She grabbed his filthy shirt. We framed it together. I handed you tools. You taught me to use a saw. Together. It ain't the same. It's exactly the same. Her voice broke. The money bought lumber. But you cut it. I hammered nails. We both built it. He pulled away, walked to the window, looked out at the cabin walls, the roof, the porch. Clara's hands shook. I got more to tell you. He turned. What now? I want to give half of it away. His eyes went wide. What? $11,000 to build a medical clinic for the town. She wiped her face. Doc Sawyer died. Folks are dying because they can't get help. You want to give away I want us to get it. Together. She stepped closer. Our money? Our choice? Silas stared at her, his face unreadable. Say something, she whispered. You're serious? I already talked to the town council. They said yes. If you agree. If I agree. He laughed, bitter. Why would my agreement matter? It's your money. It's our money. She reached for his hand. He pulled away. You want to work for $18, fine. Work. But that cabin, that clinic, it's ours, not mine. Ours. His shoulders dropped. All the fight went out. He sat on the floor, back against the wall, put his head in his hands. Clara sat beside him. Didn't touch. Just sat. I can't be nothing, he said into his hands. You're the man who built this place from ash. You're the man I love. He looked up, eyes red, wet. I love you too. That's what hurts. She took his hand. This time he didn't pull away. They sat on the floor until the sun set, until the cabin filled with shadow. Tomorrow, Silas said finally. We talk about this proper. Tomorrow. But Clara couldn't sleep that night, because she knew deep in her bones the shame would come back. That tomorrow Silas would wake up and remember, would see the money and feel small again. Would it ever be enough? Would he ever forgive her? Would he ever forgive himself? Late August sun beat down on the empty lot next to the church. Clara stood in the dirt, counting paces, 20 by 30. Enough space. She'd walked to town that morning. Alone. The 3 miles felt longer without Silas beside her. The town hall door stood open. She climbed the steps, inside. 5 men sat at a pine table, Mayor Peterson, Preacher Michaels, 3 councilmen. All stopped talking when she entered. Mrs. Brennan. Peterson stood. This is unexpected. I got a proposal. She set papers on the table. Her hands didn't shake. Anonymous donation, land and funds for a medical clinic. Silence. Councilman Davies leaned forward. How much money we talking? Enough to build it proper. 2 exam rooms, surgery, waiting area, stock it with medicines, hire a doctor. Where's this money coming from? Davies again. Pushing. Does it matter? It does if there's strings attached. Clara straightened, looked him in the eye. No strings. Just one request: the donor stays anonymous. Why the secrecy? Peterson's eyebrows up. Because the donor don't want credit, just wants the town to have what it needs. The men exchanged glances, whispered. Finally, Preacher Michaels spoke. Quiet voice. Steady. Town'd be grateful. We lost Sarah Cooper's boy last year. Infected cut. Might have lived with proper doctoring. Clara's throat went tight. She nodded. Then you accept? She asked. We do. Peterson extended his hand. Tell your donor we're much obliged. Walking out. She passed Mrs. Hadley on the street. Hadley winked, said nothing. Clara bought the empty lot from the church for $50. Signed the deed that afternoon. The land sat waiting. Ready. Days passed slow. She worked alone, fed animals, tended garden, the bean plants heavy with pods now, corn tasseling, squash vines thick with yellow flowers. She picked beans in the afternoon heat, filled her apron. The pods snapped clean from the vines. Inside the cabin, she shelled them at the table Silas had built. Her fingers worked automatic. splitting pods, beans falling into the bowl with small clicks, the carved letters underneath, C, B. She ran her fingers over them, wondered if he'd come back. Saturday evening, 6 days since he left, hoofbeats on the road. Clara stood from the table, walked to the door, heart hammering. Silas rode up on Cordell's mule, slid down, stiff, exhausted, clothes filthy with 6 days of work. He pulled an envelope from his pocket, held it. $18, he said, voice rough. It's a start. Clara looked at the money, at his face, sunburnt, hollow-eyed. I need to show you something. Clara, please, just come with me. He hesitated, then nodded. They walked to town, didn't talk. The silence between them felt breakable, like one wrong word would shatter everything. At the empty lot by the church, Clara stopped. I bought this. Silas looked at the dirt, the weeds, the nothing. Why, for the clinic. She turned to him. I met with the town council. They said yes. Anonymous donation? We start building next month. You did this without me. You weren't here. He flinched. But I'm asking now, she said. Will you help me build it? With your money. With our money. She stepped closer. Half my inheritance, $11,000, to build something that matters. I can't. You can. Her voice went hard. You can choose to keep being ashamed, or you can choose to do something good. He stared at the empty lot, at the space where the clinic would stand. Sarah Cooper's boy, Clara said quiet. He died last year. Infected cut. She told me at the dance, cried in my arms. If there'd been a doctor. Silas's hands fisted. I know. Then help me. Help me build something that saves the next child. He looked at her. Really looked. Dirty and tired and desperate. Why? His voice cracked. Why do you want to do this? Because I can. Because we can. She took his hand. Filthy. Calloused. Perfect. Because having money and doing nothing is worse than having nothing at all. He pulled his hand away. Walked to the church steps. Sat. Put his head in his hands. Clara sat beside him. Left space between them. Waited. I'm ashamed, he said finally. That's the truth. I'm ashamed I needed you. Ashamed I can't provide. Ashamed every time I look at that cabin and know I didn't earn it. You did earn it. With your lumber, your nails, with your hands. She cut him off. With your knowledge, with your father's carpentry square, and your skill, and your sweat. She turned to him. I had money. You had knowledge. Which one built the house? He was quiet. If I'd tried to build that cabin alone, Clara said, it would have fallen down in the first wind. The money's just paper. You made it into something real. I still can't pay you back. Then don't. She grabbed his chin, made him look at her. Keep the money. Use it for good. Build that clinic. Help people. His eyes filled. I wanted to be enough. For you. I wanted to deserve you. You do. She kissed him. Quick, hard. Not because of what you earn. Because of who you are. He kissed her back, rough, desperate, tasting like dust and 6 days apart. When they pulled back, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. I'm sorry for what I said, for leaving. I'm sorry for lying. We even... she thought. Yeah, we're even. He took her hand, looked at the calluses, the broken nails, the dirt ground in, kissed each finger. These hands built that house much as mine did. Her vision blurred. Tomorrow, he said. We go to the bank, put everything in both names. Equal partners? Equal, she agreed. They walked home as the sun set. Gold light painted the cabin walls, made the windows glow. Inside, Silas lit the lamps. Clara made coffee. They sat at the table. His table. Tell me about the clinic, he said. She told him. 2 exam rooms. Surgery. Waiting area, where she'd found a doctor young man from Santa Fe, fresh from medical school. Needed work. When do we start building? He asked. September, after harvest. I'll help. He looked at his hands, at hers. We'll build it together. That night they lay in bed, not touching. The space between them smaller than before, but still there. Silas, yeah. What if people talk? What if they say you married me for money? Let them talk. His hand found hers in the dark. I know the truth. She laced her fingers with his. What's the truth? That I'm the luckiest man in Texas, rich wife and all. She laughed. First time in days. The sound felt rusty but real. He pulled her closer. I ain't gonna say the shame's gone. It ain't. Might not ever be. I know. But I'm gonna try. Try to see the money as ours. Try to use it right. He kissed her hair. Try to be the man you deserve. You already are that man. They lay quiet. His arm around her head on his chest, his heart steady under her ear. Outside, the owl called. Coyotes answered. The wind moved soft through cottonwoods. Clara felt the tension leave his body, felt him relax for the first time in days. I love you, he whispered. Even when I'm being a stubborn fool. I love you too. She lifted her head, kissed him. Especially when you're being a stubborn fool. He smiled. She felt it against her mouth. The next morning they rode to town together, Cordell's mule between them. At the bank, they sat across from the manager, a thin man with spectacles, wire-rimmed. We want to open a joint account, Silas said. The manager looked at Clara. How much are we depositing? Clara pulled papers from her bag. Bank statements, investment reports, all of it. $23,000, she said, in both our names. The manager's eyes went wide. He looked at the papers, at Silas, back to the papers. That's considerable, he said. It's ours, Silas said, voice steady. Both of us, equal partners. They signed the papers, both names on every line. Silas Brennan and Clara Brennan. When they walked out, Silas took her hand, squeezed. Feel different? She asked. Yeah. He looked at their joined hands. Feels right. At the cabin, they sat on the porch, the bench he'd built, cushions she'd sewn. What now? Clara asked. Now we build. He pulled her close. The clinic, the future, all of it. The cat appeared, jumped on his lap, purred. Clara laughed. Cat's got the right idea? They sat quiet, watching the sun move across the sky, the garden growing, the animals grazing, everything peaceful. But Clara's hand moved to her stomach. rested there. Light, uncertain. Too early to know. Too early to say. But maybe. Silas noticed. Went still. You think, maybe, don't know yet. He put his hand over hers, both their hands on her belly. If you are, then we'll figure it out. Together.
고함스무슨
Together, he agreed. The word felt different now, felt real, felt possible, but in town, the empty lot waited. $11,000 committed. A whole clinic to build. Months of work ahead. And Silas still woke some mornings with shame sitting heavy on his chest. Still looked at the cabin and wondered if he'd earned the right to call it his. The healing wasn't done. Maybe never would be. But they were trying. That had to count for something. Didn't it? Late August bled into September. The empty lot beside the church transformed. Silas drove the first stake. The mallet struck wood solid thunk that echoed off the church wall. Clara held the measuring tape, called out numbers. He marked the ground with lime powder. White lines in brown dirt. Foundation outline. By noon, half the town showed up. Men with tools, women with food baskets, children running between wagons. Tom Cooper brought his hammer. Where you want me? Foundation stakes. Silas pointed. Every 8 feet. Sarah Cooper spread blankets in the church shade. Set out cornbread. Beans, apple butter. Y'all eat when you're ready. The work began. Silas showed the men how to dig foundation trenches. 3 feet deep, level. Clara mixed mortar sand, lime, water. Her arms burned, but she kept stirring. The first stones went in before sundown. Foundation corners. Solid? True. Mr. Hadley stood back. Wiped sweat. Looking good, Brennan. We got a ways to go yet. We got time. The days ran together. The walls rose slow, frame by frame. Silas on the ladder. Tom handing up boards. Other men sawing. Measuring. Fitting. Clara worked the mortar, her hands blistered again. The old calluses cracked open. She wrapped them in muslin. Kept working. Sarah brought water in stoneware jugs. You need to rest. I'm fine. You're bleeding through the cloth. Clara looked at her hands. Red spots on white muslin. I'll wrap them tighter. By the first week of September, 4 walls stood, rough but straight, roof beams across the top. Sunday after church, Preacher Michaels walked to the site, stood looking. The Lord's work, he said quiet. Silas, nailing shingles. Called down. Just a building. Preacher. No. Michaels shook his head. It's hope. Hope that help is near when trouble comes. The roof went on. Shingles tight. No leaks. Inside. Silas built exam tables. Smooth pine. Sturdy. Clara sewed curtains for the windows. White muslin. Clean. Simple. A wagon arrived from Fort Worth. Medical supplies. Glass bottles lined with straw. Carbolic acid. Laudanum. Quinine. Bandages. Surgical tools wrapped in oilcloth. The bill came to $400. Clara paid it from the bank account. The check had both names, Silas Brennan and Clara Brennan. He signed beside her name, his hand steady. Dr. Winters arrived 2nd week of September. young, maybe 30, clean-shaven, spectacles. He stepped down from the stage, looked at the clinic, smiled. "It's perfect," he said. Silas showed him through. 2 exam rooms, surgery with big windows for good light, waiting area with benches, storage room for medicines. "When can I start?" Winters asked. "Soon as you're ready." "I'm ready now." First Saturday in September. The dedication. Whole town gathered. Preacher spoke. "Bless this place of healing. Bless the hands that built it. Bless the generous souls who made it possible." People clapped. Nobody asked who paid for it. Nobody seemed to care. The clinic doors opened. Winters stood inside. White coat, black bag, ready. Mrs. Cooper brought her daughter, 6 years old. Cut hand, infected. Red lines crawling up her arm. Winters cleaned it. Careful, thorough, carbolic water. The girl cried. Mrs. Cooper held her. He bandaged it tight. "Change this every day. Keep it dry. If the red lines spread, bring her back." Mrs. Cooper's eyes filled. "Thank you." Outside, she found Clara, grabbed her hands. "My boy died last year. Infected cut. Couldn't get to a doctor in time." Tears ran down her face. "This clinic, whoever paid for it, they saved my girl." Clara's throat closed. "I'm glad. Tell them thank you. Whoever they are." Clara nodded, couldn't speak, walking home. Silas said, "You see Mrs. Cooper's face?" "I saw. That's what the money bought." He took her hand. "Not lumber. At the cabin." They sat on the porch. The sun dropped toward the horizon. Sky went gold, then orange, then deep purple. Rosy lowed in the pasture. The chickens settled in their coop. Somewhere a mockingbird sang. "We should get horses next spring," Silas said. "Horses cost money." "We got money," he grinned. "Our expensive money." She elbowed him. He laughed. The sun touched the horizon. Colors exploded. Burnt orange, violet, deep blue streaking to black. First star appeared. Venus, the evening star. Silas stood, walked inside, came back with something in his hand, his father's pocket watch. He held it, turned it over. The back engraved "Property of Samuel Brennan. 1847. Stopped at 3:47. The time his father died." Clara watched, waited. Silas wound the watch. Slow, careful. The mechanism clicked. Once, twice, 3 times. He held it to his ear. Tick, tick, tick. The watch lived again. "It's time," he said. "Time for what? Time to stop living in the past." He set the watch on the bench between them. Ticking. Steady. "Time to build the future." Clara took his hand. Rough palm. Calloused. The hands that built their home. That built the clinic. That would build whatever came next. "I never thought I'd feel this," Silas said, voice low. "After the fire, after Pa died, thought I was done." "You ain't done. No." He smiled. Small, real. "We're just starting." The watch ticked between them, moving forward, second by second, below. The town lights came on, one by one, windows glowing, families settling for the night, and somewhere in that town, in the white clinic by the church, Dr. Winters sat at a desk, writing notes, ready for the next patient, the next emergency, the next life to save. The mockingbird sang again, complex song, rising and falling. Clara closed her eyes, breathed. The smell of sage, of dust, of home. Silas's arm tightened around her. You tired? No, just listening. To what? Everything. She opened her eyes, looked at him, at the scars, at the face she loved. To the life we built. He kissed her, gentle. The way he kissed her that first time on the church steps, like she was something precious. When they pulled apart, the sky had gone full dark. Only stars. Only the vast Texas night, spreading forever. We should go in, Clara said. Getting cool. In a minute. Silas picked up the watch, listened to it tick. I want to sit here a little longer. With you, looking at what we made. So they sat, the watch ticking, the stars wheeling overhead, the wind soft through the cottonwoods. The cabin behind them glowed warm with lamplight. Smoke would rise from that chimney come winter. Food would cook on that hearth. Life would continue in those rooms. Each other. Not perfect, not easy, but enough. The watch kept ticking, moving them forward, into tomorrow, into next week, into all the years ahead. Whatever came, drought or plenty, sickness or health, joy or sorrow, they'd face it together. With scarred hands and strong hearts, with her money and his labor, with their love and their choice to keep building. Keep healing, keep moving forward. The cat appeared, jumped on Silas's lap, purred loud enough to hear over the wind. Clara laughed, soft, happy. Silas scratched the cat's ears, looked at his wife, at the stars, at the home glowing warm behind them. In the distance, barely audible. The town clock struck 9. The sound carried on the wind, clear, true, time moving forward, life continuing. The mockingbird called once more, then silence, just the cricket song and the wind and the steady tick of the watch. Silas set the watch carefully on the bench, pulled Clara close. She settled against his chest, his heartbeat under her ear, strong, steady. Thank you, he said quiet. For what? For staying, for fighting, for not giving up when I was too stubborn to see straight. I love you, she said. That means staying through the hard parts. I love you too. He kissed her forehead. Even when I'm being difficult. She smiled against his shirt. Especially then. They sat until the moon rose, full and white, made the cabin walls look silver, made the garden shadows long and strange. Rosie's bell tinkled in the pasture. The chickens settled quiet, everything peaceful. Silas's hand moved to Clara's stomach, rested there, light, questioning. She covered his hand with hers. Too early to know. But maybe. He pulled her closer. Whatever comes. We're ready. Ready, she agreed. The watch ticked on, the stars turned, the night deepened, and in that moment, sitting on the porch they'd built with their own hands, watching the world settle into sleep. Everything felt possible. Not because the money made it easy, not because the work was done, not because the shame had disappeared or the questions were answered, but because they were together, because they'd chosen each other, because they'd learned that love wasn't about who provided or who earned or who fixed whom. It was about standing side by side, building, healing, moving forward, one day at a time, one nail at a time, one choice at a time. The cat purred, the watch ticked, the wind whispered through leaves, and Clara thought, this is enough. This moment, this man, this life we're making. This is enough. Silas stood, offered his hand. Come on, let's go inside. She took it, let him pull her up. They walked into the cabin. Their cabin. The door swung shut behind them. The lamps burned. The table waited. The bed they'd share tonight and all the nights to come. Outside. The watch kept ticking on the bench, forgotten for now, but still marking time, still moving forward, still proving that broken things could be mended, that stopped hearts could beat again, that even in the ashes, something new could grow. Sometimes a story sits with us quiet, doesn't it? The weight of what Silas carried, that shame of needing help, of not being enough on his own. And Clara? Holding all that money like a secret that might break what she'd found. Heavy things. Both of them. Familiar things. Many of us know what it feels like to carry something we can't quite set down. To love someone and worry that what we bring or don't bring might not be sufficient. To wonder if partnership means being equal in all the ways that count. Or if it's something else entirely. Something harder to name. Maybe the story doesn't need to teach us anything. Maybe it's enough to sit with the truth that healing takes time. That forgiveness of others, of ourselves, comes in pieces. Not all at once. That some mornings we wake up lighter and some we don't. And that's all right. The unresolved parts, the tender spots that still ache when pressed, they're allowed to stay. We don't have to fix everything to move forward. Thank you for staying with Silas and Clara through all of it, for listening all the way to the end, even when it got quiet and hard.